Hello, everybody. This is Dan Tarker again with my second presentation for this assignment for our research in higher education class with Dr. Tevis. And I am doing this a second time because, once again, as I explained in the first video, I'm at a crossroads with my dissertation. I'm trying to make a decision on which way to go, and I 'cause I have two ideas I'm very excited about, but I can only pursue one at this point, and one poses more challenges than the other, so I have to make a decision about which way to go. And so, as a reminder, my previous video really dealt with organizational crisis and how the spectrum of transformative to transactional leadership would impact organizational crises. And I was initially with that one thinking about doing uh, a dissertation on just a single site case study on Umpqua Community College and the shooting, but I've since found another dissertation that did a similar kind of study on crisis management and leadership and did a multi-site study, and that actually might be more interesting, and because there's many different types of crises, and it might actually be a little bit easier to get enough people to talk at different institutions than the critical mass of people I'd need to get at one institution to talk about what happened at Umpqua. So that said, this concept map looks at something completely different. The spectrum of transformational and transactional leadership is still there because that's always going to be the centerpiece of whatever my dissertation is. But in this case, I'm looking specifically at organizational innovation. And organizational innovation in terms of um, specifically looking at undergraduate uh, innovation, I should say undergraduate arts and humanities innovation at 2 year institutions, 2 to 4 year institutions. I don't want to. I'm kind of resisting boxing myself into just a community college. I am interested in looking at small liberal arts colleges or universities because I think there's some really interesting stuff that's happening around. Um, Really interesting stuff happening around our arts and humanities innovation at those colleges, maybe a little bit more so than at community colleges right now, because it feels like, especially in Washington State, it feels like the community colleges are drifting more and more to becoming technical colleges or I don't know, more technical focused than arts and humanities focused. And that's kind of one of my concerns, which is why I approached this topic, was that I can see very clearly that the arts and humanities are not being as attended to as they should be within higher education, especially at community colleges. Um, the programs are closing, they're being cut, and a lot more funding and attention is being paid to STEM programs because it's supported by the federal government through lots of grants and money. It's seen as a pathway to higher paying jobs and careers, and that the skills developed there are going to help stimulate our own economy. And so there's a national interest in funding those kinds of programs. Whereas with arts and humanities, well, there's not as much interest in funding those because it's harder to make a tie to the national interest. However, good arguments have been made that one of the things that arts and humanities do is bind us together as a community and create a culture and a unified culture of shared values and morality and ethics, which are important things. And I think we see in our presidential election right now, there's a real need for that. It would actually be interesting to do a study to see, you know, to look at to look at a study of the cuts in education to the arts and humanities and how and people's perception of their shared cultural values. Um, but that's a whole nother story. In any event, so yeah, this is what initially drew me into doing this particular dissertation topic, was my concern about the arts and humanities and an interest in seeing how innovations happening around STEAM programs. A lot of colleges believe they have STEAM programs, but they don't really. I think there's more to integrating the arts into a STEM program than most people appreciate. Arts across the curriculum, where you're embedding arts in non-arts program curriculum. For instance, embedding a drawing class into a biology class and linking those up, almost creating learning communities. And also other kind of cross-curricular or intracurricular activities as well. So there's all that. And then organizational innovation, how do we get there? And there's several attributes to organizational innovation, including work commitment, idea generation, idea promotion, and of course, idea implementation, because that's the key, right? All of this doesn't matter if you don't implement. And there have been studies that show transformational leadership behaviors are clearly linked to many of these activities. We have idealized influence, and if I just pick that up here and pull it over here, we can see that that's clearly linked to work commitment and clearly linked to idea generation and clearly linked through some quantitative research to idea implementation. And so forth for a lot of the rest of these. So, for instance, individual consideration, which means just taking the time to get to know somebody individually and what their strengths and interests are, has been linked to idea generation and idea implementation, and so forth. So you can see there's lots of different connections over here between transformational leadership behaviors and organizational innovation. There's a gap in the literature around, at least as far as I know at this point, between transactional leadership and its different behaviors, which include active and passive management by exception, and then also leadership contingency rewards, leading people through punishments or rewards, and then laissez-faire, where you don't really manage at all, you're disconnected, and I kind of went over that in the previous video as well. But these have not been clearly connected to organizational innovation, and as has been pointed out, the arts are probably, for the most part, arts leadership are probably acting more transactionally. You could hypothesize right now because they're in a survival mode, and transactional is definitely more about maintaining. Most studies show that transactional leaders are great at maintaining operations, whereas transformational are really good at changing and creating organizational innovation. So all these linkages to organizational innovation really do make sense. I would be interested to see, as part of the study, what transactional activities, or if any, are linked to these organizational innovation activities and behaviors, and then how all of this contributes to how different arts and humanities programs have created organizational innovation at their institutions by implementing STEAM, arts across the curriculum, or other interdisciplinary arts programs at their college campuses. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. It's a lot as well, but probably a little bit more manageable because people would probably be more willing to talk to me about this topic. And that, I think, as far as the usefulness of it, as a practical thing, it could result in a list of recommendations for other arts and humanities leaders at 2 to 4 year institutions or undergraduate programs who want to engage in similar activities to implement STEAM, arts across the curriculum, or other programs at their campuses. So that's where I'm at with this particular idea, and I am certainly open to feedback, or if you have a opinion about which direction I should go, excuse me, I would be interested in hearing that. So thank you for listening to the second video, and I hope you have a nice day.